Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and join your festivity today. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Crombie. You can see it on the poster over here or over here. My website, if you got a chance to check me out, is briancrombie.ca. I'm running in this current by-election that's going on in Mississauga for a new mayor of Mississauga. Probably some of you are from Mississauga or Brampton or Caledon or know people that are in Mississauga. Please, if you're at all interested in this election and if you like anything that I've got to say, check me out and maybe even recommend me to some of the people that you may know that live in Mississauga. So this is a transformational election for not only Mississauga, but I think Peel, which is obviously Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. The reason why is Mississauga is 50 years old. For 40 years, we've had two mayors. And this is the first election that is really competitive. There's 4 existing councillors that are running for mayor, and I think that we've lost our way. And to elect some of the same councillors that have been there, that have created the problems that we've got, I think is going to be what Einstein said, is if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, it's the definition of insanity. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. So let me tell you, if I could, real quick about some of the issues that I think we've got in Mississauga and Brampton, and frankly in the whole GTA, but we've got the chance to make a change in Mississauga. Number one is house affordability, home affordability. It's terrible. You know, you used to be able to buy a house for 3 times your income. Today it's something like 15 times your income is what housing is. To buy a affordable house in a house or a condo in Mississauga today, you need $250,000 worth of median income combined for a household. That's in the top 1% of people in Canada that earn $250,000. And the reason why we've got this lack of affordability is squarely at the feet of the municipal councillors, because they've created a system of approvals of development that is wrong. It takes 7 to 10 years to get a development approved. It only takes 2 years to build it. Why would it take longer, 3 times as long to push the paper around the City Hall as it does to actually hire the contractors and build it, sell it, get it rented up, etc. It's wrong and it's stupid and it's got to change. And I propose, number 1, reducing the approval time period by 50%. Number 2, increasing the density around transit nodes by 20%. I think we've got to change and simplify the zoning so that things that we want to get built, and things that we don't want to get built, don't get built faster. You say no. You can say no faster. You can say yes faster, but that's number 1. Number 2 is, do any of you live in South Mississauga? Or do you ever go down to the waterfront Port Credit? So you know the waterfront Port Credit, there's this thing called Brightwater at Mississauga Road in Lakeshore. It's 75,000, it's 75 acres. 75 acres is the size of Rome or Barcelona. It's going to have 15,000 people in it. At Lakeview, which is the old power generating station that's just south of Dixie, it's 120 acres. It is going to be 25 to 50,000 people. There's not one extra lane of transit and transportation. Not one extra lane and no transit. South Mississauga is going to be a congestion disaster, and the council that approved it should all be fired, because it's going to be a congestion disaster. And that happens in other places. So I think that we've got a problem with affordability. We've got a problem with lack of transit, developments being approved without transit. And I'm not saying that development shouldn't be approved. The development should be approved, but we should put transit in place. I'll give you 3 quick examples, if I could, about the type of transit that I would support. Have any of you taken the Milton Mississauga GO train line to get to downtown Toronto?
Yeah.
That line is what, 5 or 6 trains downtown in the morning, 5 or 6 trains uptown in the evening. For 25 years, we've been talking about making it all-day, 2-way frequent GO train service like it would be on the Lakeshore line. The Metrolinx did a study, said it had an 8-to-1 benefit to cost ratio, the highest return they've seen in any transit program in all of North America. And it's not been built. Why? And if you actually had it going all the time, and you had a stop at Dixie, maybe added a stop at Cawthra, the stop at Dundas, etc., it would be like having a subway. It would transform Mississauga. It would be an incredible addition to our city. But we've got politicians that talk a big game and never actually do something about it. It's been 25 years and we've never done anything. I'll give you another example. In the 1990s, they did the environmental studies and approvals to approve a subway extension, the Bloor subway, from Kipling to Dixie. Have you ever been to that Dixie Dundas GO train station, or the big smart center, the big shopping center at Dixie and Dundas? Think about what it would be like if the subway came that far. It would be a subway into Mississauga that would transform Mississauga, would transform, I think it would transform Peel. It's the right thing to do. But have you ever been to the Vaughan Metro Center? What have you got at the Vaughan Metro Center where the subway's been extended into Vaughan? You got 50-story towers. It's great development, it's great density, and it's got a living arts center because you've now got the property tax base to create a great infrastructure. You probably know about Markham. They built a new downtown for Markham because they got all-day two-way go on that Markham-Stouffville line that goes through this downtown Markham. They're talking about taking the Yonge Street subway up to Steeles and then into Richmond Hill. They're building 50 and 60 stories in Richmond Hills. So if you want to get a subway or a GO train to your area, all day two-way go, you've got to build the density. You know what the density limit is at Dixie Road? 12 stories. It's stupid. No one at Metrolinx or the province is going to allow the development of a subway, the expense of a subway coming to Dixie, even though the politicians say, oh, I'd like to have a subway coming to Dixie. They're not going to prove it if your limit is 12 stories. Let me tell you how absurd this is. You may know that in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, BC has just passed a law that says if you're within 400 meters of a SkyTrain stop or a bus exchange, the minimum you can build is 12 stories. The minimum you can build is 12 stories. And in Mississauga, the maximum you can build is 12 stories. Talk about, this is ludicrous. That we're saying you can't build above 12 stories, they're saying you can't build below 12 stories. BC and Lower Mainland have got the religion of we need to build more density, we need to have home ownership, we need to have home affordability, and Mississauga councillors are living in the past from 20 years ago when everyone was going to live in a single-family home. We can't afford that today. And there's no room for more single-family homes in Mississauga. There's no greenfield land left. The only way to grow is to grow up. And then let me give you one last thing if I could. I think that the airport corporate zone, which goes from Pearson Airport to Pilhill at Mississauga Road, it's the second largest employment zone in all of Canada. Downtown Toronto is the first biggest. Bigger than Montreal, bigger than Vancouver is the airport corporate zone. But you ever hear about it? If it was in Kitchener-Waterloo, we'd have an incubator. We'd have a federal government with millions of dollars of a super incubator and a cluster development. We'd have a university. We'd have a whole bunch of things to develop it. It is the jobs that you or your kids are going to want to have. It's the high-paying jobs that are going to allow us to afford these homes. It's a center for AI. It's a center for high-tech. It's a center for biotech. It's a center for aeronautics. And we squander the opportunity because we don't develop. And part of the reason why is because it's split between Brampton, Mississauga, and Rexdale. And we don't have a BIA. We don't have a Board of Trade. We don't have transit that goes there. There's all things. If this was in any other city in the world, what they would do is they would say this is a gem that we need to magnify, we need to accentuate, we need to promote, we need to create the jobs that are the jobs that, you know what? My kids would like to have those jobs. Those are the jobs I want to have my kids, because my kids, you know what happened in Peel this last year? For the first time in history, we had out-migration. We lost people that are moving to Calgary. You know why? Because young people, there's some young people here, it's too expensive for them to get a job and have a house in Mississauga or Brampton today. So they're moving to Calgary. Is that what we want, to have our grandchildren living in Calgary so we only see them once in a blue moon? No. We want our kids to be able to get good jobs in this area and afford homes in this area. And the council in Mississauga is not allowing that because I think they're back 20 years ago. So I think you need new, aggressive business leadership. So let me just tell you, if I could, for one more minute, a little bit about myself. So I've been in business for 40 years. I graduated with a Harvard MBA. I've lived in New York, I've lived in Boston, I've lived in Los Angeles. I worked for the Walt Disney Company in Los Angeles, designing downtowns for Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Something that is pretty unique, and it was special because I traveled across North America talking to different planners of communities about how you build a community that works. And we used it at Disney. It was interesting. At Disney, where you make a lot of money is by people staying longer at night, going to restaurants and hotels and all this other stuff. It's building a city. It's the same thing for Disney as it is for a community. I have worked in beer, I've worked in entertainment, I've worked in pharmaceuticals, I was the chief financial officer for the Ottawa Senators hockey, and we designed a 53-acre development in downtown Ottawa. So I've got, I think, the business experience. Number two, I've got community experience. I was chair of the Mississauga City Summit at the request of Hazel McCallion, the former mayor of Mississauga, for 7 years, from 2007 to 2014. I was president of the Mississauga Arts Council, and I was very involved in a lot of different cultural, festival, artistic events for numerous years, obviously from my Disney background, and then also because of my interest in the community. I am currently chair of an organization that's GTA-wide called the Transit Alliance, that lobbies for transit. And if you notice my last name, I used to be married to someone that was very involved in politics, and so I've been reasonably involved in politics in Mississauga and in Ontario, so I know what it's all about in regards to politics. So I've got a business background, I've got a good academic background, I've got a good community involvement background, and I got a political background. But I'm not right on council today, so I'm an outsider, I'm a business person that comes in. The biggest problem we've got, absolutely the biggest problem we've got, is we elect career politicians over and over and over again that all they want to do is get elected again. I don't think they actually have your best interest at heart. They don't want to do what's right for the community. We have 20% of the people that turn out. 4 out of 5 people don't even bother going to the ballot box. And so what happens to the politicians? They only care about the 1 out of 5 people that actually shows up. That's wrong, and it's got to change. And so if you think about electing me, or if you're not in Mississauga, you can recommend to someone that actually lives in Mississauga to consider voting for me. I'd really appreciate it, because that's the only way I think we're going to make change, is by having outsiders come in. One last thing, I don't know how many of you are hockey fans, but the Leafs 2 days ago did the right thing. The Leafs, 7 years in a row, have lost in 7th game. They're mediocre. They got more money than anyone else. They got more opportunity than anyone else. They got 4 stars on their team. But what did they do? They fired the coach, because they said, if we keep this coach in there, we're going to be mediocre forever. We're always going to lose in the first round. You know how aggressive it is and how difficult it is to fire the coach? It's tough. But they made the tough decision, and they did it. Well, that's what I'm recommending that we need to do in Mississauga. We're mediocre. We're not reaching our goals. We're not achieving our dreams. Fire the people that are there now and put someone new in charge, because that's the best solution. And I'd like humbly to believe that I'm one of the people that can make that change. So briancrombie.ca, recommend me please if you could, and please invite me back to your next festival. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Give a huge round of applause to Mr. Brian. And today we just got to know that Disney designed by Mr. Brian. So it's awesome, guys. Whenever you going there, just see that, yeah, he's the person, right? Thank you. Guys, so we have a favorable condition. So now I can talk in Hindi. Yeah. So भाई अभी हम start करते हैं अपना function, because बारिश जा चुकी है.
Anne-Marie, thanks so much for coming. Appreciate it.
So
Hi Brian, how are you?
जो बच्चे हैं हमारे छोटे, so we'll start with the kids performance first.
Behind the hand.